Hello and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Todd Johnson, and today we're going to be talking to Professor Falcone. Our subject today is people who change lanes. And Professor Falcone, welcome to Bridging the Gap.
Good to see you, Ty. Good to see you.
Now, you're a professor in the psychology department?
That's right.
Interesting. Have you been teaching here long?
Yeah, I guess since 1980. This is I graduated from the University of Kentucky and came here as my first teaching job and have been here ever since.
Great. Now, I know as a psychologist or teaching psychology, you perhaps were disciplined in the academia.
Yeah, that's true. An undergraduate degree in psychology and then a master's degree. And then I went into the service. I came out of the service, went into a doctoral program, and then found my way to Philadelphia, not too far away from home, at Salle.
Well, that's interesting. Now, yeah. Professor Falcone, if I can call you that.
Yeah, all right.
Professor Falcone, you're teaching psychology, a very disciplined study, and then one day you wake up and say, what? Fill in that blank for me.
Yeah, well, actually, it wasn't quite waking up like that, but I understand. What more or less happened was I came to Philadelphia with a family, and there was this subtle ritual where in the evening I would read a story to my daughter or my son when they were young, and I would put them to bed, tuck them in, and then I would sit in the corner of the room with a guitar, and I would play music. And back then, it was just kind of, just playing around, as it were. It was, but what ended up happening is I ended up developing a style that was a very warm and kind of quiet style, and that took me into an area of music that eventually I found out people liked, and before I knew it, I was performing as a musician.
So now you transfer from, or you're bivocational in some would say.
Right.
But the music, how did that evolve into performing in front of an audience and cutting CDs and writing music and so forth? How did that come about?
Well, it's so many of things that happen of importance, I think, in our lives are accidents. And I was just playing at home one day, a song that I was working on, and some friends came over to the house and heard me play. And then soon afterwards, one of those people had a soiree for poets and storytellers, and asked me if I would come and play music as a way to kind of break up all the words, because this was instrumental music I was playing at that time. And I did. And I was scared. I mean, I had not played in front of people, really. I can remember watching my fingers shake, but I was dumbfounded. They really enjoyed what I was doing, and that was the ember that caught. What happened then is I started going to open mics in town. Philadelphia is a wonderful place to start as a musician, especially this is folk-based instrumental. I do sing as well, but at that time. There are many places that are open to people just beginning to come, do an open mic, learn to work with the audience, and then one thing just led to another, and now I'm not exactly, I wouldn't call my music a vocation. I mean, it is in a way, but teaching full time is plenty. Right. So some part of the balance is trying to keep the music at a level where it doesn't become so much work. It's about a kind of balance.
But what would you say to, I come to you and I sit down and say, Professor Falcone, I'm a history major and I want to teach history, but I have this little nagging thing on the side that tells me I want to be a cartoonist.
Yeah.
What do you say to a student or friend or someone who may be viewing this program and says, I'm in one discipline, but I have this nagging thing on the other side that says I can do something else. There's something else artistic that I like to do. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I think what I do is try to, I mean, this has happened more than you know, because the fact that I do teach and I am a musician. There's one example I have in mind. There's a very successful band in Philadelphia area where the organist of that band was one of my students. And he had very good grades and was ready to go on to graduate school, and he came to me in his senior year and he said, I have an opportunity to play music, but I want to go on to graduate school. What should I do? And of course, you can't answer that question for anyone. You can try to be a place where they can kind of answer it for themselves. But I certainly did not dissuade him from understanding that if music was where his heart was, that now's the time. And if it's possible to kind of keep one foot in both places, that's good too. But sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you have to make a commitment, and I don't think there's an easy answer. I think it's worth the struggle, though. It's worth keeping the conflict on the table to kind of figure out what you're going to do, and then once you take a step, go with it.
I'm reminded of a famous, probably the most famous Salle graduate, Peter Boyle.
Oh yeah.
Who at one time was thinking about going into the ministry, and decided that he did not want to do that. And as we know, he became a very successful actor.
Yeah.
So I look at examples like that and say, these are people who change lanes. But would you say that changing lanes or doing something else that you're passionate about, would you say to somebody who's viewing this program, do something that you're passionate about, or take the safe road and get the 9 to 5 with the benefits?
No. I don't know who said it, but there's a little quip that when you drive in the center of the road, you're more likely to get hit by something that's oncoming. It's not always easy to identify what it is you're passionate about, because it doesn't always hit you in the face. But if you feel the inkling, you should try to nurture it. And if in nurturing it, it grows with balance, you need to pursue your passions. You only, at least as best I know, make this trip one time.
Right.
And you might as well do it with heart.
That's good advice. Very good advice. Now, and as a psychology professor working in a mainstream university, and then doing, what genre of music is it that you? Yeah,
it's got an Irish component to it, a Celtic component. It's actually called fingerstyle acoustic guitar, and it has it almost looks classical, but it's a very active kind of guitar work. It's people who hear it will say that sounds like 2 or 3 guitars, because the thumb is like a member of the band, and the other fingers are all doing their own thing. But it's just a whole lot of fun.
If somebody wanted to hear your music or wanted to see you, do you have a website they can go to?
Yeah, you can just actually Google David Falcone, and it'll take you to some YouTube pages where you can see me playing. It'll take you to my page where I tell you where I'm playing. And so on. So if you Google David Falcone, you'll get the information you need.
So just put David Falcone in YouTube, and it'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah.
Do you ever see students in your classroom who perhaps may have seen you perform? Or?
Oh yeah. It's very special. I try to keep the two areas not totally separate, but I don't let the music or my being a musician get into the classroom. But it is just a wonderful way to share time with my students when they show up at a gig. Yeah, I love to share the music with them.
Yeah. So I look at someone like you and say, wow, you took, some would look and say, you took a big risk, and the big risk paid off because you did what you were passionate about, and you continue to do it. Even to this day, you're still performing and doing what makes you feel good and makes others feel good.
I don't know. I'm not sure how big a risk it was. I mean, looking back, it's hard to know where all the junctions were, but all I can tell you is it definitely feels like I'm contributing something, and the world's given back. It's like a big dance. It really is.
So for somebody who might be viewing this program, we would say to them, if you're passionate about something but you're in another discipline,
Right.
that take that chance or follow your lead or go with what makes you feel good. Don't suppress that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and again, I mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. Only with balance.
Right.
You don't. There's a way to do it.
Yeah. Thank you, David. I appreciate you coming and sharing with us today. And I look forward to going on YouTube and finding out more about you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
We're going to go to a commercial break. Don't you leave. Don't change that channel. We'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Todd Johnson. We're talking about changing lanes today, people who were in one field of study and moved to something else that they were passionate about. To that end, our next guest, Perry Divirgilio, better known as Vision, is with us today. Vision, welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we're going to jump right into it. Just give me a quick synopsis, if you could. What was your first discipline? What did you first do when you graduated from college?
When I graduated, I started teaching. I was teaching middle school, high school level. I went over into the nonprofit field, and I was teaching there as well as a trainer for a nonprofit organization. So teaching has always kind of been what I was doing, and I love teaching, but it was just something else that quite didn't click with me. It was great doing it, but it wasn't kind of where I wanted to get up every day and do it type thing.
So when you walked down the aisle and got your degree, did you ever envision that you would be doing what you're doing now? Maybe you might want to tell our audience exactly what you do now. And we know that you were teaching at one time, traditional discipline,
Yes.
and what do you do now?
I am a full-time spoken word poet. I also teach spoken word poetry, so I'm still kind of doing what I did. But when I graduated from Dickinson College, and that wasn't on my mind at all. I didn't really know what I was gonna do. I thought I would maybe go into to the legal field, or I figured I might teach. But poetry was my passion. I've been writing poetry since I was little. I was the kid in North Philly under his sheet in the dark writing, so none of my friends knew about it. You didn't kind of brag to your friends that you wrote poetry. But I never thought that I'd be doing something like that full time at all. It never crossed my mind until I started, getting out there and doing open mics and getting paid gigs. And I was like, wait, maybe I can make a career out of this.
Now, was that a leap of faith for you to go into spoken word? For example, when you look in the one ads, I've never seen any advertisements or jobs wanted for spoken word. So was there any trepidation on your part saying, hey, this may not?
When I first started doing poetry, I first started doing open mic scene. It was a very well-respected poet. He told me full-time artist means full-time broke. And it scared me so much. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to be full-time broke. I got student loans to pay.
Right.
But you got to kind of have faith in yourself. You can't go by what somebody else tells you. And, you know where your passion is. And if you don't have faith in yourself, nobody else is going to have faith in you.
So the art world that you're in, that spoken word, what would that look like to one of our viewers who may be saying, spoken word, is that somebody who stands up and recites poetry, or how does that look to the layperson?
We like to say that spoken word is where theater and poetry kind of meet. It's that cross street right there where they both, it's animated. When people think of traditional poetry reading, they think, reading out your book and, reciting. And we also do that. Some days I just want to go to an open mic or a venue and just share out of my book. But it's theatrical. It can be in your face. It can be laid back, but it's kind of where drama / theater meets poetry.
So for someone like myself, who's sort of an outsider, would that look like a monologue? Somebody who's doing a monologue?
It could look like that. Typically, they run from like, anywhere between 2.5 minutes to maybe 4.5. If you know, the most notable spoken word poet is probably Saul Williams or Talam AC. Malcolm Jamal Warner does spoken word poetry. A lot of times, you'll see some do it with, a backup band, or, it's kind of monologue. It's not so much, reading out your book. It's like getting up there and kind of getting free and expressing yourself freely.
Love Jones, Lorenz Tate. Remember that movie?
I do remember that. Yeah.
That was spoken word, right?
That was spoken word, and that element still exists. The kind of the dark place with the candles, and so that element exists. But there's also places where it's just a stage and a mic, and it's your truth, and that's it. It's nothing cute about it. We're gonna get up here and talk politics, or we're gonna talk about social issues in the community, or we're gonna talk love. But it's not just just the kind of Love Jones feel where you're up there speaking real rhythmically. That's kind of not what, that doesn't encompass the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, where has your art form taken you? What places, what have you seen? What are some of the venues you may have worked, or what types of things has Changing Lanes done for you in terms of exposure to people?
It's interesting. I've opened for comedians, national comedians. I've opened for national artists, your Commons, your Mos Defs, your Marsha Ambrosius, your Jaguar Rice. They all come from that field. Before Jill Scott was Jill Scott, she was a poet. Running the Philadelphia scene at October Gallery and in these places, being a poet. So they respect the craft, and a lot of times, they'll we build with them. It's kind of a tight knit circle. A lot of other artists kind of respect what we do. So I've been to California and back. I've been to Montreal. I've been all around, kind of doing this, running up and down the East Coast. There's a lot of opportunities. It's not the most lucrative field. I think the best way that a lot of us have CDs or DVDs we kind of sell. We're not going to be at a huge venue for the most part. But it's a field where if you're passionate about it, you can live well and do what you love to do every single day. And there's nothing more freeing than that.
Now, that freedom that your art has given you, I look at people and say, changing lanes seems a little scary for the 9-to-5 model. So what do you say to somebody who might be viewing this program and says, I have a passion, vision, I want to do something else, I'm passionate about doing whatever it might be, but I have this job. What do you say to that person?
It's not easy. I got a line, I have a line in the poem where I talk about my transition. It's like, I'm afraid I'll die of old age, still a slave to a wage. And I didn't want to be that way. It gets comfortable. You get that check every week or every other week, and you want to pay your bills on a certain, it's very scary. But if you're creative and you have faith in yourself and you have grind and hustle and you're gonna, this is what you want to do, I say do it. Go all in, do it. I don't think you're ever too old to do it. I have a friend who started her singing career in her late 40s.
Wow.
And now she's, going to Turkey and being called into Cameroon and all these places to sing. And it's like, if you're passionate about it, people follow passion. People want to be around passion. They want to be around courage. So if you don't believe in yourself, they're not going to want to be around that. But if you believe in yourself, it's going to be somebody that says, yo, it's something about that kid. He's not quite, he may not be as, as round as it may not be there, but it's something there, and I want to help cultivate that. So I say go in, all in, don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, kind of use that to push yourself even further, because it's gonna be scary. That first day where you don't have to get up for your 9 to 5, you're like, I got all day,
Right.
I can do whatever I want. It gets scary, and that first Friday when that check doesn't come is scary. But if you tell yourself, all week I'm gonna be writing poems and memorizing poems, and I'm gonna go to Baltimore and do a show and sell some CDs there, and that paycheck, it makes up, when you grind it out.
Speaking of the time flexibility that you have because you changed lanes from a 9-to-5 job to a job where, again, you have the flexibility of doing what you want to do and kind of setting your own road. What do you say to somebody who says, well, I'm not disciplined enough to be an artist? For example, somebody who says, well, if I'm left up to my own devices, I may sleep all day, or I may watch TV all day or drink coffee. What do you say to a person who's passionate about something? What do you say to them about structuring their time as an artist?
Get out the house. I don't get any work done in the house. I'm at a cafe, I'm in a park, I'm somewhere else, and If I stay in the house, I'm gonna look at the dog and we're gonna goof off and the show gonna be on TV. Get out the house.
Right.
Go somewhere, treat the cafe like it's your office, treat the park like it's your office, dedicate time, I'm not the most structured person, but I have to be now.
Right.
You gotta learn that discipline really fast. Technology helps you out. Get an app on your phone or on your computer and mark out your time like it's a 9 to 5. I mean, you spent so many years, with a boss telling you, do this, be here, be here, be here, be here. Now you're your own boss. Go just as hard for yourself as you did for that person that you were making money for.
Now, we were talking off air a little earlier. You would mention something about CNN. You want to share that with our viewers? There's something going on right now with you and CNN.
Yes, I volunteer for an organization called Philly Youth Poetry Movement. I'm the artistic director as well as the Poetry Slam team coach. And there's a show on CNN called Black in America. It comes on every year. It's hosted by Soledad O'Brien. And they picked up on a workshop series I was doing for PYPM. And so they kind of followed the workshop series on identity. Talking about this go around is what is it to be black? What is black in America? And we kind of talked about identity and colorism, and they picked up on it and they followed us. They followed me and two of my mentees from August, pretty much late August to now. And it airs on December 9th at 8:00.
So that airs this year, December the 9th. Now, so being picked up by CNN and having exposure to those type of venues, has that kind of, do you ever look in the mirror or do you ever have a moment to yourself where you say, changing lanes has done very well for me?
Briefly, it's like, you think about it like, the way I think about it is if I wasn't there, if I didn't have that time, it may not have come to me. I'm a very spiritual person. If I didn't have faith, if I didn't take that leap of faith, that opportunity may not have come to me because I didn't believe in myself. So the fact that I had the time available, to talk in these production meetings. If I had a 9 to 5, I would have never been able to talk to them.
Right.
By the time I get home from work, they would have been off work.
Right.
So it would have been an opportunity missed because I didn't have faith in myself. So you look at it and you're like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. But it's kind of also, as an artist, you got to be on the next thing.
Right.
So right now I'm thinking about, okay, life after CNN, and it hasn't even aired yet.
Right. So you're constantly in work mode.
On the next thing. You got to be on the next thing at all times.
Now, if somebody wants to view your work or wants to come and hear you, do you have a website?
Yes. I'm on SpokenSoul215.com, SpokenSoul215.com. It's a collective of artists that I'm with, Let Respect, Just Greg, Rubin, Rhapsody and Rhythm. We put on an event every month at World Cafe downstairs. You can go on the website and get the dates for that. And also I teach free workshops every weekend with PYPM at SLA, Science Leadership Academy, 22nd and Arch. And you can just follow me on Twitter at Vision Poet for any other thing. Vision Poet, one word.
So social media has done well for you.
I think social media is an artist's best friend, right? It's you can be an independent artist now because of social. It's a lot easier to be an independent artist because of social media.
Right. Well, I look at guys like you, women like yourself, women who are in your field, spoken word, Sonia Sanchez.
Oh yeah, Dr. Sonia. Yeah.
And I'm amazed at the fact that you guys are able to do that grind, as we said, and be consistent with it, be passionate with it, and it seems like day in and day out, you guys just keep knocking the ball out the park. So I commend you.
Thank you.
And I will be following you. I will
it.
be following you. Yes, I will. I'll go on social media and I'll be a fan.
I appreciate
and
that.
So when you hit the big time, you can say, "Hey, I remember that guy." So again, but we thank you for coming and sharing with us your gifts. And for now, that ends our show for today. Again, I'm Todd Johnson, your host. When one's on the right and others on the left, when we reach towards the middle, we begin to bridge the gap. Until next time, love somebody and be nice to everybody. Bye for now.